I am Terraria's biggest mage lover, and I was super excited to see what Relauncher cooked up with the 1.4.5.7 update that they shadow dropped yesterday. What I didn't know was that it would make the class absolutely busted, and that's not even a joke. So let's check out everything they changed about Mage, and at the end, I will show you how absurdly broken the class can be with a very simple and easy to do setup. And let's just say, there's no way they aren't going to nerf it back into the Stone Age. We'll start with what everybody is probably talking about the most, the gem staves. These have been completely overhauled, and that has made them both more fun to use, but also much more powerful. First thing you need to know is that there are 7 different gem robes and staves, and each of them have a different effect. Remember the amethyst staff and how pointless of a weapon it was? Well, now the staff homes in on its targets. But that's not even the best part. The amethyst robes have the same effect. So say you have the amethyst robes and use the ruby staff. The ruby staff will now inherit the homing effect of the amethyst robes on top of the ruby staff's ability. So as I explain what each of these gem abilities are, just remember that each staff and robe carries its own abilities and they can be mixed and matched for various effects. But also remember that matching the robe and staff does actually result in a damage boost, I believe. So upgrading from amethyst, we have topaz, which grants weapons an area of effect or explosive attack. The explosion itself does not deal a lot of damage, so it's nothing major, and it unfortunately does not go through walls. But this could be a great ability to use against hordes. The sapphire gem has the simple ability of doubling its projectile. This sounds really strong, but it looks like the 2 projectiles split the damage evenly, so I'm not exactly sure what the point of this ability is unless I'm missing something. The emerald gem makes the staff's projectiles much faster, but also makes it so you can create little magical mines for enemies to hit. And these mines carry the same piercing ability as the gem staff that shot them. I did discover that the emerald and amethyst abilities don't stack together. With this though, the homing overwrites the sticking ability. The ruby ability doubles the attack speed of your staff, which I think you can put together pretty quickly how that's very helpful. Amber staff makes it so the staff projectiles bounce around, potentially making it a much more interesting weapon to use in caves. And diamond, I think actually has the most disappointing ability, where it would seem it just has a bigger hitbox. So I guess it's great for those who are not the best at aiming. Now let's take a look at the new weapons, shall we? There's the Daybloom staff, crafted with 3 Dayblooms, 5 gel, and 12 wood. This is a very early game mage weapon and is very welcome over the RNG Reliance Wand of Sparking, but I can't help but wonder if it'll become irrelevant now that the Daybloom staff exists. Like the Wand of Sparking, this staff is quite short range, but shoots bursts of 3 projectiles. I tried it against the Eye of Cthulhu, where perhaps the Wand of Sparking's fire debuff shines the brightest, as I would not recommend using this weapon against the boss, but it'll be very great as a very early game mage weapon. The Glacier Fang is found inside ice chests in the tundra biome. You can spam click for short range, low damage projectiles, or hold to fire a charged shot. I can't see a reason to spam click this weapon as the damage is pitiful, so you'll be shooting charged shots that deal considerable damage to the target with a little piercing. Testing this against the eye, I can't imagine choosing it over the updated staves. However, I can see this being a decent alternative weapon against bosses like the evil bosses or King Slime, but honestly, I don't think this is going to get much use now that the staves are much better. The Mystic Bloom finally gives mages a weapon that they can craft in the jungle, requiring a nature's gift, 2 moon glow, 3 vines, and 7 mahogany wood. It's a rather short range weapon, but shoots several petals that home in on nearby targets. This is a weapon I can see being particularly interesting to use against large bosses like the Eye, King Slime, and maybe even Skeletron with the right setup. It definitely excels as a running away weapon, so it's not meant to be used that aggressively, but if you ask me, it is quite good at creating a damaging shield around the player to keep the pesky enemies off of you. In hard mode, there's finally a mage staff that can be crafted using adamantite or titanium, but the cost of this thing I find to be quite considerable. You need a thunder zapper, which isn't that bad, but then 24 adamantite bars and a whopping 20 souls of night. The point only requires you get 20 bars, mind you. For your effort, you're blessed with one of the coolest looking weapons in early hard mode. Wherever you click with your cursor, a lightning bolt will strike. It does take a second, and if you click on an enemy, the lightning will home in on them, similar to how lightning storms work. The damage is pretty solid, and anything the lightning bolt hits will get damaged by the looks of it. It also has a certain amount of explosive damage. However, this is not going to be a new destroyer coil shredder, as it seems to do rather insignificant damage to that. Something noteworthy about this weapon is that it can strike things underground or through blocks. All you need to do is have initial line of sight to mark the enemy, and they will be struck no matter where they go. Now, this is also a lightning-based weapon, which means it does have a fun effect with water. Head to the ocean and you'll see it electrifies everything. Can this be abused? Sadly, no. The shock would appear to only deal like 1 or 2 damage to hard mode enemies. The shock is actually going to hurt you a lot more than your target. The Arc Surge is the weapon I think everybody is talking about the most, but I'm afraid you'll probably never get to use it because it's only a 2% drop chance from Martian saucers. But if you did get it, you'll get to use one of the coolest weapons in the entire game. Against single targets like Cultist, it does quite well, even if that's not where it shines the most. Moving to the pillars in groups, you'll see that it tears through Master Mode pillar enemies like wet paper. Keep in mind that this weapon's range is dependent on where your cursor is, so zooming out quite literally gives you more range with this weapon. This is easily going to be Mage's best crowd control weapon at this phase of the game, and I'm sure it will give all of Mage's endgame weapons a run for their money. Finally, let's talk about balance changes to some existing Mage weapons and accessories before I talk about how Mage is actually busted now. The Toxic Blast has now been changed to use static immunity frames. That's the only change, and honestly, I don't really know the difference between the various kinds of immunity frames, but what I do know is that it seems to me that it's dealing more damage to its targets, which makes this less of an obvious weapon to ignore. The Leaf Blower now shoots 3 leaves in succession on use. Its use time has been increased from 7 to 15, and leaves now whirl in circles after traveling a short distance. I don't really get this change. I don't think it's particularly more powerful than it used to be. All it seems to have done, if you ask me, is make it so this weapon has gone from a mini shark-like single target weapon to a more crowd control type weapon, which wasn't really necessary anyways. The Shadow Beam Staff had its knockback increased, and they updated the hit detection range, so apparently diagonal shots are easier. I'm not sure I recognize the difference. The Bloodthorn does slightly more damage, and the thorns are roughly 30% longer, which is cool, but I'm still never going to farm this thing. The Flower of Fire now consumes 3 less mana. Not sure why they did that, it was already strong enough. The Book of Skulls got a surprise change where it can now go through walls. The skulls last for a much shorter amount of time while inside blocks, but giving Mage another weapon like this is crazy. The homing is better, and the use time has been slightly increased. The Unholy Trident no longer pierces, but deals almost twice as much damage while also shooting much faster and inflicting the Shadow Flame debuff. It's still in an awkward spot in progression, but I definitely like it. Finally, the Magical Harp has been updated once again. It no longer pierces infinitely, sadly, now piercing only 5 times. And now the notes shoot very quickly to wherever the cursor is before slowing down rather than its speed varying depending on how far your cursor is from your character. It has less knockback, has increased hit detection range, but perhaps most interestingly, if the cursor is really close to your character, you can leave note mines to hit enemies. I honestly don't see that being very helpful, but I don't think this changes the harp too much and maybe will make it more interesting against Plantera. Many of Mage's accessories have also been changed. For one, the Mana Cloak can now summon Mana Stars on enemy hits, finally allowing Mage to recover mana without taking a hit. The Mana Star power now increases mana by a more substantial 40 rather than just 20, and that carries over to its other accessory upgrades. More importantly, the Mana Regeneration Band gets the health buff of the Banner Regeneration on top of the Mana Regeneration buff, but that does not carry over to the Magic or Celestial Cuffs. And the Arcane Flower now inherits the Putrid Scent buff, giving a 5% increase to Mage damage and critical strike. Alright, so how is Mage busted? Mana has been completely reworked. Most significantly, the mana regeneration delay that has been removed completely. It regenerates even when attacking at 5% of its normal rate. It's not something you can really display, but this makes mana last longer. Standing still now doubles the full mana regeneration rate, which is neat, and this also stacks with other regeneration accessories. You have an increased mana regeneration rate when having low mana. Mana-consuming weapons can be used even without mana at a 40% attack speed rate, which is actually not something I really like. The mana regeneration rate itself has actually been reduced by 13%, and mana regeneration potions give maximum regeneration rate at all times. That last one is a pretty big change, but there are 2 more accessories that must be mentioned that break everything. 2 new accessories have been added. The Restoration Shield, which combines the mana regeneration band with the Kobold Shield, giving knockback immunity as well as health and mana regen. I love this thing. And then there's the Mystic Art Sash, which combines Black Belt with the mana regeneration band. I love these additions and changes. Mana management is much easier, and you'll be spending much less time waiting for it to regenerate. Removing the delay allows you to more easily play to your regen rates advantages by maybe only using half of your mana bar before regenerating for a very short delay in attacks, or if you buff your regen, then you'll be able to restore it from 0 much more quickly. However, there's one little problem, or perhaps oversight, I think Realogic made. These changes allow Mage to have unlimited mana all the way in hard mode, and you barely even have to try. In pre-hard mode, there are 2 accessories that increase your mana regeneration, the mana regeneration band and the restoration shield. You'll need at least 2 bands of star power to make these accessories, which isn't the easiest, but not that hard either. By equipping both of these accessories, the mana regeneration and restoration shield, you can now have quite literally infinite mana. I am only using 2 pre-hard mode accessories and can spam the last prism infinitely. I do not see a world where this does not get patched out immediately. But for now, I'm going to enjoy this absurd amount of power that Mage has been gifted. You don't even need mana regeneration potions or mana potions anymore. Just these 2 accessories and you're all good. Let me know what you think about these changes. Some of them are even ones that I recommended in this video here if you want to see what I predicted and what I missed. And I hope you enjoy endless streams of mana and the new weapons.